Hi, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Welcome to 15 Minutes of Fame. Well, Jim, let's start out on the ice, as we normally do, and break down the first two games of the Stanley Cup Final. What do you think so far?
I think the LA Kings should play on the road constantly. They should push for an all-road regular season next year because they are on fire.
It's like I don't need to play. It's okay, NHL. I don't really need to play in LA. It's okay.
The Staples Center's a busy place.
That's right. Lots
Just
of people.
split the gate with everyone everywhere else in the league. Perfect. Fine for us.
No problem.
We'll go 82-0.
That's right.
Because that team, I don't know, they find a way to win, and it's they're. I don't know if you can see a way back for the New Jersey Devils in this series.
No, definitely not.
As the week goes on, but
well, exactly.
The LA Kings are playing. They're just a different class right now.
They absolutely are.
Granted, it has taken overtime.
Yeah, well,
that kind of thing. So,
but that's like New Jersey, like forcing overtime. You know, like that's them doing their best just to get into overtime. It seems. So Dustin Penner playing well. Everybody's playing well. This has been the story of the whole playoffs, man. Amazing.
Yeah, and they're getting contributions from everyone. Like you mentioned, Dustin Penner, for example. He's coming into his zone. I mean, Carter with the game winner on Saturday night. That's what it takes to win championships. Contribution from everywhere possible. Guys like Dwight King sniping in the middle of the playoffs, but they're doing it, and I'm a little bit surprised. Even just that they're the road record, for example. I'm surprised that that's continued all the way to the Stanley Cup Final and into the Stanley Cup Final. But that's when great teams get on a roll like that, it's hard to stop them.
Do you remember when that time that Dustin Penner was benched 5 of 6 games during the regular season for healthy scratch? Amazing. Yeah,
he's a guy that's really come into his own, and there's a lot of interest around him. Like a lot of people trying to figure out his story.
Like what?
But just like that, like, hey man, you were a healthy scratch, like 5 out of 6 games. Like, how are you here right now?
Yeah, totally.
But you can tell that he's a guy that's just trying to find his way, kind of, and takes longer for some players, and he might have 2 Stanley Cup rings.
He might have
at the end of the week.
That's right. Well, apart from that, a couple of big stories from around the league this past week. First up, Jim, some sad news for you and your Detroit Red Wings, I understand.
Yeah. Nick Lidstrom. Great player.
Yes.
20 seasons, 7 Norris trophies, 4 Stanley Cups, a Conn Smythe, international credentials, gold medals here and there, walking away from the game. That leaves a big hole on defense for the Detroit Red Wings, but you know what, Nick, you can't fault the guy. It's got to be tough at that time of your career to try and decide, like, I'm still among the best. Do I walk away as that, or do I continue and to a point where the team eventually sits me down and says, okay, so what do you think about being a 5 or 6 guy?
Yeah.
Or maybe you could be the defense coach.
Right.
So that's got to be a tough thing to do, but I mean, you always want to walk away. I guess it's just like any job, really. When you leave, you want to leave a big hole.
That's right.
Because you're so good.
Well,
you don't want to be, just, okay, see you later, man.
Yeah. Well, that guy's leaving a big hole. 42 years old, I understand he's still fantastic and he still can play, but yeah, I mean, do you still play at 48 years old? Maybe he'd still be that good. I don't know, but
yeah. I mean, right. to us, we sit down and we watch the kind of finished product, right? But if you're playing in the NHL, I'm sure it's a hell of a grind.
Oh, sure.
Between travel and practicing all the time. Practice? We're talking about not the game.
No,
not the game. But I mean, all that stuff must wear down on you pretty good, and especially as you get a little bit older. But I mean, Nick Lidstrom, what can you say about the guy? Like, then there's been a real outpouring of that ever since the news came. But oh man,
no, totally, absolutely.
What a player, but what a massive hole that leaves for the Detroit Red Wings. But I think that there's some things about his game that you see other defensemen on the Red Wings doing, and I think that's just by playing with him. Because there's a lot of little things that Nick Lidstrom did that made him the amazing defenseman he was. He wasn't your traditional, hard hitting defenseman.
No, that's right.
Pretty much never laid hits. Yeah. You never really saw him like Cronwall anyone.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't expecting it. I thought he'd be back for sure.
Well, dry your eyes, sir.
Cut me deep, man. It cut me deep.
That's right. Let's talk a little bit about a crazy story. Boston Bruins and Timmy Thomas, the goaltender there. What is the story?
Yeah. Bruins GM Peter Chiarelli came out and said he's preparing to play the season as if Tim Thomas wouldn't be around. The next day, Thomas came out and said, I won't be around. Said he wants to focus on family and those kind of relationships that maybe go off to the side when you're pursuing a professional hockey career. Like we were just talking about the grind of being a pro hockey player, especially one like him who kind of took the long route to get to the NHL. But the guy's 38. I mean, I don't. What are you taking a year off for now, man? Just play 2 more seasons, then retire.
Yeah.
Or a season. So he's got 1 year left on his deal. I don't know how this works with the remaining year on his contract, but he's kind of there was some hints the other day that he wanted to be back for 2014 for the Olympics, but I mean, I don't even know if he's the number one guy for the U.S. team. Like there's a lot of good American goalies, but very strange story, and that's another one that I kind of heard someone talking about, and I was like, what? He's taking the year off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very strange story, but hey, I mean, I guess once again, like, do whatever you want, man. Like you've earned the right to make a choice about what you want to do with your career. May not be the right choice, but you've got a Conn Smythe, you've got a Stanley Cup, you've got a Vezina.
Good for him.
You. Yeah.
Well, let's look at a couple of coaching notes. It sounded this week that Bob Hartley might end up running the Montreal Canadiens, and then that's not what ended up coming out this week.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because it's like, oh, he speaks French. He could be the Montreal coach.
That's right.
Because that's obviously
what
the main potential.
Right.
Yeah. But he ended up in Calgary.
Yeah, weird.
It's interesting. Yeah. The Habs still searching. Brent Sutter says the Oilers haven't talked to him yet. So there's a whole lot of uncertainty. But the Flames have their guy. And Hartley's a good coach. He's been out of the league for a little bit, but he should be a good fit there. I don't really know a ton about him, but
well, I mean he's got a Stanley Cup in Colorado, so he's not. I mean, that team was a relatively good team, but
still, though, that can make it harder to coach.
Yeah,
if it's a team of great players, you got just like coaching the Miami Heat or something like that.
That's right.
You got to be able to keep the egos.
That's right.
On the same path.
Yeah.
So he's got that going for him.
Yeah, absolutely. In one of 50 Minutes of Fame's favorite NFL stories. The latest on the bounty thing is apparently there is some evidence. We've been talking about this for forever.
Yeah. Pro Football Talk reports the Saints kept a ledger documenting payments to players.
Okay.
Which is pretty damning evidence.
No kidding.
That scope here. So it was $1,000 for a cart off, $400 for a whack.
Mm-hmm.
Not the mafia style.
No, not like that.
$100 deduction for mental errors.
Yeah, interesting.
So this really, I'm still, I don't know what they have on Jonathan Vilma, the guy who was suspended for a season and then sued for defamation. You got to think if there's evidence like this, there must be something involving him, unless he was running it, I don't see how he's suspended for a year. You know what I mean? I don't see why he'd be running it, but I just can't wait to see what else we got here.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Story that keeps on giving.
Exactly. Maybe they got wiretaps and they got like video and all that other stuff. Yeah. Somebody's wearing a wire. I don't know. We'll see. It'd be interesting. Finally, in the NBA, the New Orleans Hornets won the draft lottery this week. which has some people a little riled up. Had a lot to do with how many, the percentage chance that they were going to get it and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting watching the faces of the GMs, though. That was interesting.
Yeah. Who owns that team again?
I think...
Oh, right. The league does.
The league.
Oh, yeah. And they pushed really hard to get the maximum value on the resale of the team. That's right. And the new owners were there?
Right.
Oh, they were guests at the draft lottery? Really? Uh-huh. So... It's probably nothing.
It's probably nothing.
Probably not rigged, right? But, God, you just...
Perception.
Yeah. You can't help but be skeptical, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Be like if the Phoenix Coyotes weren't in the draft lottery but ended up with the...
Well, exactly. Well, it's just the Charlotte Bobcats have had that bad of a year, right? And we're going to talk about them a little later on in the show. But, they had a 25% chance of getting that first overall. Yeah. Right? And then the New Orleans Hornets symbol comes up, the logo comes up, and you could just see the guy just go like that. And he's like, oh no. Not happy.
David Stern was just like, oh boy.
Oh, they just can't catch a break at all.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the GABBYs now. These are the good and bad by you. We take the best and the worst in the world of sport and usually make a little bit of fun out of them. So this one's not one of those, though. Let's start off the GABBYs with a good to Mets pitcher. Is it Johan?
Johan.
Yeah, Johan. Okay, good. Johan Santana, who delivered the team's first ever no-hitter on Friday. That's half a century and over 8,000 games without one for the franchise. That leaves the San Diego Padres, the only team without a no-hitter on the books. So that's unbelievable that a New York team would not have a no-hitter.
That's one less joke that they can be the butt of.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Mr. Santana.
That's exactly right.
Let's give a good to Cal FC, an amateur U.S. soccer team that went into Portland and beat the Timbers, an MLS club, in a U.S. Open game this week. Cal FC had only practiced once the week before the game, which is pretty unreal. And it's one of those stories you see play out every now and then, but not that often. But you love to see it, unless you're a Port Timbers fan.
Well, yeah, exactly. I always wonder about those, why the other team takes on a team like that, why the MLS team took on Cal FC, because they've got nothing to win. If they beat Cal FC, they're expected to. But if Cal FC beats them, it's through the roof. You know what I mean? So it's absolutely it's almost. I know it's good to watch, but if you lose, that's it, man. That is not cool.
Man.
So
no.
Yeah. And finally, a good to long-suffering fans of the Charlotte Bobcats. If there really are still any fans, 7 wins last year, Jim, 7. They're about to get a really good deal. The team says if you're going to buy a season ticket for this year coming up, you get the next year's for free.
Wow.
So if there are any hardcore fans out there, there you go. You get to see, LeBron. You get to see...
Great players coming through town.
So you have to watch the Charlotte Bobcats as well, but who cares? That's fantastic.
Cal FC and the Portland Timbers.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
All right, Jeff, here's one for you.
Okay.
On the bad side of things, apparently... Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao almost agreed to a fight back in 2010. Contract was all written. It had all the specifics, who's going to be on the scale first, who walks into the ring first, 50-50 split of the purse, which has been the sticking point ever since that point. But it was drug testing that had the thing stopped, of course, and we all remember that. The unrealistic level of drug testing that Mayweather wanted. Pacquiao eventually agreed, but at that point, when he finally agreed, 50-50 split was the deal.
Right.
The deal breaker. So that ship has probably sailed.
We've been talking about this story for a long time, and it's amazing to find out now that it was almost there, but there's just no way that that fight's ever going to happen.
They even had the price of the pay-per-view worked out.
Wow. Huh, how about that?
It was everything except this drug testing.
Crazy. Well, here's the type of story we love here on 15 Minutes of Fame. A bad to Milwaukee Brewers catcher Jonathan Lucroy. He broke his hand when he was reaching under his hotel room bed for a lost sock, and his suitcase fell on his hand. Out 4-6. Poor guy. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just these injuries that happen to these baseball players.
It's a hell of a sport, that baseball, you know? Finally, let's give a bad to New York TV station WABC.
Yeah.
They were busted by Deadspin this week of broadcasting a story about the Stanley Cup Final that included the New York Islanders taking on the LA Kings. Really, man? How hard? And it's not just that the guy said it, but they had the graphic right here. You know, like it went through several levels
That's right.
of people saying that's correct, that's factual. I think
Definitely the Islanders.
Is that right? Hockey, right? Ice hockey.
Ice hockey.
Yeah, the ice hockey Stanley Cup Championship World Final, New York Islanders, and like as the guy on Deadspin said, if you think the Islanders are in the Stanley Cup Final, you got problems.
Yeah, just to begin with.
Like You haven't watched hockey in the last 10 years.
No, that's right. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I love that.
But I think DiPietro's going to get the Conn Smythe. He's had a great season.
The ice hockey. The ice hockey. The punchline this week is, as has been in the past, Terrell Owens, who's no longer playing for the Allen Wranglers of the Indoor Football League, Jim.
No, he is not. The Wranglers cut him.
Yeah.
After he apparently said he wouldn't play in a couple of upcoming games, road games, and refused to show up at an appearance at a children's hospital, apparently.
Yeah.
But that's not all. They evicted him from the house that they had him staying in. They took back the Jeep they gave him, and they bought out his shares of the team, which you'll remember part of the deal was that he would become a part owner of this team. They bought out his shares for $50.
You mean 50,000, Jim?
$50.
$50.
50.
Oh, no. Poor
Yeah.
Terrell Owens.
So that's kind of a diss to themselves. Like,
Yeah.
this is what we think it's worth, or
Yeah, no kidding.
I don't know that. But what so many levels of that story too, where they cut him, okay,
Okay.
they evict him,
Yeah.
they repossess a vehicle, and they give him $50 and say thank you for your service.
Just like that. Unbelievable. Terrell Owens is absolutely, I don't know where we're going to see him next, but... and one more thing just to end off here, Jim. What do you think about the KHL, the Continental Hockey League, coming to Long Island for a couple of regular season games this year?
Well, a couple of things. We just talked about the Islanders.
Yeah.
If they win the Stanley Cup, I mean that's a big deal.
True,
We've discussed the seating arrangement in the Barclays Center, whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
14,500 with no seats behind the net.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of strange.
Weird.
Also, it's very interesting that the KHL, I wonder what their purpose is. You know, are they going to invade?
Well, NHL's clubs send it over into their territory a little bit.
That's true. That's true. It's interesting though, because I don't know how much interest there would be in seeing a KHL game, but they're pretty confident. What's that?
If it came to Edmonton and the price was right, I'd go.
Yeah. If we had a Russian owner, we'd probably get a game.
Yeah, that's true too. Interesting.
Very, very strange though.
Very strange. All right, folks, that's our 15 Minutes of Fame up for this week. Join us again next week when we get a whole new 15 Minutes of Fame. In the meantime, I'm Jeff Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
Have a good week, folks.